Hello, I'm Waffles Are Better. This is a tutorial on how to make a data pack for Minecraft Java Edition. As there are several things a data pack can do, this tutorial only focuses on functions and commands, and I will make another tutorial on how to do things like edit structures and recipes and other stuff like that. I'm sorry this video is a bit long, but I'll put timestamps in the description so you don't have to watch the whole thing if there's only some specific things that you want to know. And as always, if there's anything that you have questions about, feel free to ask me in the comments. And if you have any other suggestions for things that you want me to cover, you can leave that in the comments too. The first thing you want to do is obviously to actually create the folder that's going to hold all the stuff that is actually in your data pack, like all the commands and functions and other folders and files. So you just want to name this whatever you want your data pack to be named. It's going to show up in the game as whatever this folder is going to be named. So I'm going to call it tutorial pack. The next thing you need to do is to open this folder and create a new text document. So you need to make sure that you can see the .txt file extension and that it says text document here. If you can't see the file extension, just go to View and then make sure that file name extensions has a check in this box right here. Then you want to rename the whole thing, including .txt, to Pack.mcmeta. And just say yes because you want to change the file extension. And make sure right here that it says mcmeta file. You also need to make sure that it is named exactly pack.mcmeta or else it will not work. So now what you're going to want to do is edit this with any text editing software. I use Notepad++. Then you want to type some curly brackets, and inside of that, in quotation marks, type pack, and then a colon, and then another set of curly brackets. And inside of here, you want to type in quotation marks again, pack_format, and then another colon, and then a number. And that number will tell you which version of Minecraft this pack is compatible with. So for 1.13 to 1.14, the number is 4. For 1.15 to 1.16.1, the number is 5. For 1.16.2 to 1.16.4, the number is 6. And for upcoming 1.17 versions, the number is 7. So I want my pack to be compatible with 1.16.4, and so I'm going to put a 6 and then a comma. And if you do put the wrong number, it'll just say it's incompatible, but the pack should still work if it has the right commands. The reason they changed the pack format is that commands do get updated, so older versions will not work and newer versions will probably not work in different versions. So under here, you want to say description in quotation marks again, and then another colon, and then just type in quotation marks whatever you want the pack description to be. This will show up in the list of data packs under your data pack name, which is the name of the main folder you already made. So I'm going to say this is a data pack, and you can just write whatever you want here, but this is just what I'm putting as an example. Then you want to make sure that you save the file, so I'm going to say file save, and then you can close the text editor. And then this next step is optional. It's to create an icon for your pack. If you don't do this, then it'll just show up as like a cobblestone texture, I believe. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this picture I already have and copy it over here. This is what my pack is going to show up as in game. This is the icon that's going to show up for it. You need to make sure it's named Pack.png, and it needs to be a square or else the image will be weird and distorted. The next thing you're going to want to do is create a new folder called data. And in here is going to be where all of the actual stuff in your data pack is. So I'm going to open that and then create a new folder called Minecraft. And depending on what you want your data pack to do, you will then create a new folder called, let's just say, tutorial. It doesn't really matter what it's called, just, name it something like your pack's name or something like that. It is important that whatever you name this folder, it is in all lowercase and it is one word, or it has underscores instead of spaces between letters. So like you could name this tutorial underscore pack, but you couldn't name it tutorial pack, and you couldn't name it tutorial pack with a capital P. Now, you don't need to make this folder if you're just doing something like changing vanilla structures or something, or doing anything that doesn't actually require you to make any commands. But this tutorial is going to be showing you how to just add commands to your data pack that you want to run in game, so that's why I'm making this folder. So since this tutorial is focusing on like functions and adding commands to your data pack, the next step is going to be to go into Minecraft and then create a new folder called tags. And again, you don't need to do this if you're not making any commands for your data pack. And then you want a new folder in here called functions. And then in here you want to make a new text document, actually 2 new text documents. Then, just like before, you need to be able to see the file extension .txt, and then rename both of these, including the file extension, to load.json. Then say yes, and then in here rename this one to tick.json. So basically what these two do is any function that you write and then tag in load.json will run when the world loads, and any function that you write and then tag in tick.json will run every game tick, which is a 20th of a second, so basically it'll run 20 times a second. So that means if you don't want to run anything like the moment the world is loading, you don't need load.json, and if you don't want to run anything after the game loads, you don't need tick.json. I'm actually going to come back to these in a minute. Right now we want to go back to this folder that I named tutorial, but you probably named whatever your data pack's name is. So I'm going to go in here, and then you want to create a new folder, and this needs to be called functions. So this is where we're going to be making all of our functions, which is basically files that hold the commands that you want your data pack to run. And then in here, I'm going to create 2 text documents. And it doesn't matter what you name them, but they need to be .mc function files. So you need to make sure you can see the file extension, and then rename, including the file extension, to whatever you want to call them. I'm going to say load.mc function, and say yes. And notice how it now says mc function file here. And then I'm going to rename this one, including the file extension, to loop.mc function. And say yes again. So now since I made these, I'm going to go back to data, Minecraft, tags, functions, and I'm going to write this stuff in here that's going to actually make the data pack work. So then open up load.json with a text editor. As I said before, I use Notepad++. And then just type some curly brackets, and then say in quotation marks values, and then a colon, square brackets, and then in quotation marks whatever the function you wrote was called. So you want to put the namespace, and I'm going to go back here. You can see that my namespace is tutorial, because that's what I named this folder. So tutorial, for me, this will be different for you, whatever you named your folder, and then the name of the function that I named the load function, but you might have named something else. So I'm going to put tutorial : load, and then another quotation mark to finish this. If you want to load several different functions when your game loads, you're going to put a comma and then just whatever your other function was, just in the same format as this. But I don't have that, so I'm just going to put this and make sure that you do not have a comma after the last value. I'm also going to delete this space right here just to make it look more even. You don't have to, but I'm going to because I like my functions and files to look even. Then I'm going to say file save to make sure that you save this. And then you want to copy everything in here and then go back to your functions and then open tick in a text editor and paste it here. And then just change this to whatever your other function that you made was called. So mine was called loop, and then just save this as well. So now these tags will do what they are meant to do by running loop on every tick and running load when the game loads. So you can just close this now, and then next you're going to want to actually write the functions. So go back to your namespace, functions, and then loop. Open this with a text editor, and then this is where you can just type your commands. So I'm going to close these just because we don't need them anymore. Then at the top, I like to write what the function is doing. So you can do that with a hashtag. Make sure you have a hashtag here. If not, the game will think it is a command and it will break the function. And then I'm just going to type commands that run on every tick. And then just write any command you want to run on every tick. I'm going to write some little execute command. So when you write commands in functions, you do not put a slash, just like you can in command blocks. If you didn't know, you don't have to put a slash when you write a command in command block. When writing data packs, I recommend that you know how to use the execute command. I have a video on that I will link in the description. It is just one of the most important commands for data packs because it allows you to do most of the things that data packs allow you to do. I'm going to say execute as at e type equals cow to execute as at all cows, and then at s to execute it at their location, unless, well, no, actually, if entity at p, so the nearest player, distance equals up to 5 blocks away, run summon lightning where you are. And I'm going to write some stuff in the load function, but first I'm going to go back up here and write the name of the data pack and my name just to credit yourself, which I usually do. So I'm just going to say tutorial pack by waffles are better. Then I'm going to make sure I save this. I can go back here, open load.mc function, and I'm just going to copy what I have up here, paste it, and change this to commands that run when the game loads. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to make a function run not every 20th of a second, but maybe every 5 seconds or any interval you want. Because usually you don't want something to run 20 times a second because that's really fast. So if you want something to run on a timer or every 5 seconds or something, that's what I'm going to show you how to do now. That brings me to why we actually need a load function. We need it for commands like scoreboard commands, adding different scoreboard objectives, because if you try to add those every tick, that'd just create a ton of scoreboard objectives, and it wouldn't really be helpful. So you want to do scoreboard objectives add, and then I'm just going to call it timer, and then you want the type to be dummy, which means it doesn't do anything on its own and you need to change it manually. So then make sure that you have this function saved, and then go back to your functions folder, and then you're going to need to create a new function, but instead of just putting it in the functions folder here, I'm going to make a subfolder because it's always good to organize your different functions. So you can create a new folder and name it whatever you want. I'm going to call it timers, I guess, because we're kind of making a countdown timer. Then we can just copy this, go in here and paste it, and then rename it to, let's just call it timer. Then go in here, and this is what we're going to need to change. So first I'm going to change this description up here to match what this is actually going to do. So let's just say counts down timers to run scheduled functions. So what we're going to be doing here is creating a fake player that can hold the scores for the timer, because we don't want to add it to a random player because that could get complicated. So we want to change this to scoreboard players add, and then let's just name the fake player 5 second, and then go back to load. We named the objective timer, so timer 1. And so what this will do is basically every 20th of a second, so 20 times a second, it will increase this fake player 5 seconds. It will increase their timer score by 1. But we don't want this to count forever. We want it to stop every 5 seconds. So to do that, we want to do execute if score, and then the name of our fake player, which is 5 second, timer, which is the name of the score, matches, and then the score that we want it to reset at, which will be 20 times however many seconds you want the timer to run, because it adds 20 times a second. So if you want the timer to run for 5 seconds, which I've said I wanted, you would just do 5 times 20, because that means it would be adding 20 5 times. I'm going to say every time it is 100 or above, so for above you write the ... Then you want to say run scoreboard players set 5 second timer 0. So when we make the loop function run this function, what it will do is add 1 to the score, which will be 0 when it starts, but it will keep adding 1 until it gets all the way to 100 after 5 seconds, and then it will reset itself to 0 and then do that again over and over and over. So every 5 seconds it will reach 100 and reset. Make sure you save this, and then you can go back to your loop function so we can make this actually work. That's pretty simple. You just do function, just like we did in the tags in the Minecraft tags folder. You want to do function, and then whatever the namespace you put for your pack is. So mine again is tutorial because that's the name of the folder it's all in. Tutorial. And then the name of the folder that you put your function in. So timers for me, and then the name of the function timer. So if you had this in like timers and then had another folder named like timer1, you would just put the name of the folder and then another slash before your function. Now the timer function will work. So I'm just gonna copy this to make something actually happen with the timer. So just gonna paste that in here. Doesn't really matter where you paste it. You could put it in the timer function or in the loop function. But I'm gonna say if the 5 second timer matches like 50, run, and then cut out this part. Just say hi. So every 5 seconds it'll say hi, starting 50 ticks into the game. Then you can just save this, and now your data pack is playable if this is what you want your data pack to do. I've started up Minecraft version 1.16.4 because if you can remember, that's the version that I decided the pack is compatible with when I put pack format 6 in my Pack.mcmeta file. So I'm just going to create a new world that I'm going to use for my data pack testing. So I can just name this data pack testing or something. Then just change it to creative mode and then open the data pack folder. You can just copy your main data pack folder into here and then close it. And as you can see, this shows up in your data pack folder with the icon you put in and the name and the description. So you can just press this arrow, make sure it's in the selected data packs folder, and then click done. Then just create new world, and your data pack will be automatically loaded. So I've loaded up the world, but as you can see, it is not saying anything in chat every 5 seconds, and nothing happens when I get near this cow. And that's because I made an error in writing one of my functions. So it's actually easy to detect where one of your errors is by opening up the Minecraft log when you start your game. To do that, when you open your Minecraft launcher, you want to go to settings and make sure that the open output log when Minecraft Java Edition starts box is checked right here. And then go back to Java Edition and click play. Then whenever you open your world, it will give you an error message. So I've opened my world and I'm getting an error from my tutorial loop function. And as you can see, I typed lightning when I should have typed lightning_bolt. So if I just go back to my tutorial loop function and open it in a text editor and change this to lightning_bolt and then save, everything should work. You will need to create a new world or just update the data pack in the existing world, which I will show you how to do in a minute, but I'm just going to create a new world because that's easier for me. So I am back in the game and I've fixed the error, and as you can see, the game is now saying hi every 5 seconds. I've gotten pretty unlucky at my spawn and there are no cows nearby to test the lightning. But I can just do /summon cow at these coordinates, and as you can see, that summons a cow and lots of lightning very fast because it's summoning lightning 20 times a second at any cow that I am 5 blocks away from, or less than 5 blocks away from. So I can summon a cow there again, and it does not get struck by lightning until I get within 5 blocks. So there's 2 ways to edit data packs in existing worlds. One of them is to just click on the world you want, and then edit, open world folder, and then open the data packs folder, and that's where your data packs will be. And you can drag in or drag out any data packs you want. And the other is to go to the search bar, type %appdata%, open that, and then go to .minecraft, and then saves, find the world you want, and then go to data packs, and that's the same folder. It's just a different way to get to it. So that's it for this video. As I said earlier, if you have any questions about what I covered in this video that you want answered, you can ask me those in the comments, and you can also give me any suggestions for other things you want covered in future videos in the comments as well. You can also feel free to subscribe if you like this video and you want to see more tutorials like this. Thanks for watching.